PGA Tour 2K25 has introduced a completely new swing called Evo Swing. And with this new swing come quite a few new mechanics for it. So in today's video, I want to go over the Evo Swing in its entirety, show you how the swing works, how it functions, and then give you some tips and tricks so that you can go out on the course and hopefully shoot better shots. So the Evo Swing is dictated by the difficulty that you choose. If you choose perfect swing, that means that every shot, no matter how poor you do on the actual stick input, will be a perfect swing. Amateur, we start to get into a little bit more difficulty, but overall, you're going to be hitting quite straight shots. Pro-Am, again, is just a little bit more difficult. The main difference with Pro-Am is just, how some of the helpful difficulties are turned off now. The swing is a little bit more difficult, but not too much. The big change comes with Pro. So on all of these difficulties here, perfect swing, amateur, and Pro-Am, you're going to be swinging straight up and down. So no matter what the shot is, if you look at the Evo Swing feedback, it is straight up and down. And what that means is I pull straight back and straight forward in order to get my shot that I am looking for. As soon as you get to Pro difficulty, that is where the Evo Swing changes. Introduced this year is draw and fade biased. What a draw means is that the ball will come in from right to left, and a fade would go left to right if you are right-handed. Left-handed, it is the opposite. But as you can see on the screen here for the Evo feedback, it's now slightly diagonal. So in order to hit a perfect shot, you actually have to pull the stick back a little bit diagonally. And that changes dependent on the lie that you have, or what surface you are hitting out of, or what shot you are completing. All of these things factor into the Evo Swing. And as you go up in difficulty, that just becomes a little bit harder. Now, it will adjust if you're adding more draw or more fade in. Again, something that is shown by the Pro difficulty. And the difficulty of the shot also gets a little bit tougher as you move these around. Now, if you want to know what these do, the Shot Shaper, I will be having a video coming out later this week to go in depth about the Shot Shaper, because the Shot Shaper actually has changed from 2K23. But that's the difficulties and what occurs on the Evo Swing feedback. Now let's go over what each of these layers mean in the Evo Swing. So when you pull the stick back to that point, that white line back there, that point is swing path. Now what swing path does is that dictates whether your ball is going to be pushed or pulled right off of your club face. So if we get a perfect swing, the ball will go exactly where this blue line shows. If I pull the stick back a little to the left off of that white dot, that means that it's going to push. So if I do this and hit it, as you can see, 6.54 push. That is the degrees missed. So if I hit the ball, it comes off straight to the right. That is a push, and that is your swing path, and that is dictated by the swing path in your attribute settings. The higher the swing path, the less of a miss you will have if you miss your perfect zone. The second part of the swing is this blue line that you see getting bigger and bigger inside of the big white circle. What that is your transition, and transition dictates distance control. So if I want to hit this full power, I pull until the line flashes blue, and I hit it. And just like that, you will see 100% perfect transition. And this transition differs as you change the amount of power you want to put on the shot. So if I want to hit this 80%, I would do an 80% swing, like that. I swung a little under, but that's how the transition or distance control works. And that is dictated by the transition on your attribute screen. The bigger that number that is, the easier it is to hit the power that you are wanting. The third part of the Evo Swing is the swing down, your downswing or pressing up on the joystick. So we have our backswing, which is pulling down, transition, which is power, and then that white dot at the top is your contact, and that is dictated by the contact in your attributes. Now, the contact dictates whether you draw, fade, hook, or slice the ball. So if I hook the ball or draw it, that is going right to left, and that is shown if I miss this to the left. So that was closed, which means the ball is going to draw more. And if I miss it to the right, that is a slice, which means I'm going to miss it to the right. Now, the draw and the fade also remove some power as well. So if you miss on your draw or fade, a little bit of power will also be removed from your overall shot. So instead of it going 294, it will go less. So here's a pull open. I pulled it a little bit, but I opened the club face, so it pulls it at the start, but fades it out to end. And the last part of the Evo Swing is the rhythm, which is dictated by the rhythm in your attribute. And the rhythm is the middle circle. Now, you don't see it because the rhythm is decided once your swing is completed. So we pull it back and we swing. And you can see my rhythm was plus 0.01, and it provided a little bit more power. Now, what the rhythm is a 3-to-1. So what that means, if I pull my stick back, I have to push the stick up at 3 times the speed that I pulled it back in order to get perfect power. If it is faster than that, then you add power. If it is slower than that, then you lose power. So the rhythm is just kind of you feeling it out to see what 3-to-1 is for you. If you pull it back slow, then you can just push it forward 3 times as fast, and you get the rhythm that you need. So all of these things go into the overall outcome of your swing. If I push it and hook it, so pull it back to the left and up to the right, I pushed it, but it's closed. I get a little bit more power on it because of my rhythm, but overall, I push it and hook it. And this Evo Swing gives you a lot more feedback for what happens with your shot. So there I pulled it, and it's open, which I pulled, and I faded. So this gives you direct feedback on each shot that you take, and it allows you to correct any mistakes that you make. So that is the overall basis of the Evo Swing and how the Evo Swing works. Those get a little bit more drastic. Your misses get a little bit more drastic the harder you make the swing difficulty. So you can start at perfect, always hit perfects, move up to amateur, hit pretty close to perfects. It'll move it a little bit, but not much. Go to Pro-Am, it gets a little bit harder. Pro, it gets a little bit harder. Master, it gets a little bit harder. And then Legend is the hardest. Which brings me to the attributes. I just want to touch on these real quick, just so you understand what these do for your swing. So, contact is the top piece of the Evo Swing. The bigger you make this number, the smaller your misses will be if you miss perfect. But the big piece where you're going to be getting a lot of your perfect zone, the big white zone, the zone that you want to hit to have the perfect swing, comes from these boosts, the contact and the swing path. It comes from these boosts in all of these shot types. So if you get those boosts here in the shot type, your perfect zone will get bigger. The attribute increases it slightly, but the big thing that the attribute does is it increases the size of the gray zone, so the zone right outside of perfect. The bigger that zone is, the smaller your misses are. So if you're struggling with hitting perfects at the top and you are hooking and slicing it a ton, you can increase your contact either through the attribute system or in the fittings. And if you need a deep dive on those attributes and like how they work with your character, I did release a video called The Beginner's Guide to PGA Tour 2K25. There will be a link in the top corner right here in this video, and I'll also put a link down in the description. If you're struggling with hitting your perfects at the bottom, so on your backswing, that's swing path. Increasing this will make it so that your misses are smaller if you miss your perfect zone. Rhythm makes it so that you can be a little bit faster or a little bit slower on your rhythm, the fourth part of the Evo Swing that we went over, which means that you'll be hitting more perfect rhythms and won't be having the big power modifier. And then transition, again, is your distance control. The bigger this is, the easier it is to hit the exact power that you are looking for. Correction, recovery, and shaping, those are completely different. They do affect the swing, but they affect it differently, and I will go over that in the Shot Shaper video that I will be releasing later this week. And for your putting, putt contact is the same as contact, but for a putter. Putt path is the same as swing path, but with a putter. Putt rhythm is the same as rhythm, but with a putter. And putt weight is your transition for your putter. So you know when we go over that a little bit later in the video. So now you know how the Evo Swing works with whatever difficulty you are playing at. Now let's go over some tips and tricks on how to get better with the Evo Swing. Now, if you're first loading up PGA Tour 2K25, you might just like jump in and get into perfect swing, where you're just hitting the ball and it's just going exactly where you want it to go every single time. Once you start moving up in difficulty, though, that's when your misses start kind of punishing you. So I want to give you some beginner tips on what to do once you move off of perfect swing and start to really get into playing the game with the Evo Swing. And the first thing I always tell to new players is find a swing that works for you. Now, what I mean by this is not every swing is the same. You can actually have a ton of different swings in PGA Tour 2K25. And to show this, I have a handy dandy hand cam. In PGA 2K25, there are a couple of things that you can do. You can swing with the left stick. You can swing with the right stick. You can choose one or the other. So what I suggest is you go in and you swing with the left. You swing with the right. Try both fingers out. See which one gives you the most consistent swing, because that is what you are looking for. You are looking for the most consistent swing that you can find either with the left or the right stick. So what I suggest, come into the training for PGA 2K25. It's in the play section. Bring up a club, click the right stick, and you will go into practice swing. And what I want you to do is just swing the club. So that was a pull and open. All right, well, let's just maybe try that out again. Okay, that was pretty good. That felt good. And then go over and maybe try out the left stick and see if maybe the left stick you can get a little bit more perfect swings. And if it's not perfect, at least get a little bit more consistent swings. And if it ends there, like you swing on the left stick and you're just like perfect, 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 don't change anything. Just keep doing that forever. Same thing if you're on the right stick and you keep swinging and it's like, yeah, slamming it. This feels good. Keep doing that forever. Never stop doing that exact swing. You beat it to death until you are extremely good at it. The thing about PGA 2K, this whole series in general, nobody's going to just pick up the controller and be extremely good at this game. It takes thousands of swings because it is a highly input-driven video game. But even though that may sound daunting, it is some of the most rewarding gameplay that you will ever have once you get to higher levels and you're hitting great shots. So let's say you're swinging on the left stick, you're swinging on the right stick, and you're not really finding anything that's consistent for you. Well, guess what? There's also different grips that you can use in PGA 2K25 that might help. The first one is the pinch grip, which is what I use. Now, the pinch grip, you take both your fingers pointer, thumb, and you place them on the top and the bottom of the stick. Now from there, for your backswing, when you press it down, you are using your pointer finger to essentially push the club down while using your thumb to guide it where you want it to go. Once you get it to your desired power, you press up with your thumb while using your index finger as a guide on your downswing. So it'll look something like that. So this is the method that I use. I use the pinch, just because it works best for me. Pointer to push down, guide with the thumb. Thumb to push up, guide with the pointer. And, I mean, this works for me. So, maybe it will work for you. And you can do it with either. If left hand feels more comfortable, use the left hand. If right hand feels more comfortable, use the right hand. Whatever works best for you is what you stick with forever. You just don't stop. You keep practicing that swing. Whatever is most comfortable, you practice that, you practice that, you practice that. Another method that some people do is called the double thumb. Now, I know we're getting crazy here, but I'm telling you, sometimes just seeing it makes it so that you like it. You just got to try it. So the double thumb method, one or two ways. You can either do it on each side. Most people put two thumbs on the top of the stick, and they pull it straight back using both thumbs as a guide, and then they press forward. Now, I can't do this. I don't know how people do this. Some people are very good with it, like extremely good. Me, there is no shot in hell that I could do it. But try it out. It might work for you. Right, left, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Another one that, I mean, not a lot of people use, but some do, is an actual palm. They put the controller down, and they palm it. Not a lot of people do that, but some people do. Yes, they are freaks. But maybe there's just something else that works best for you. Like, something I didn't talk about that works best for you. If that's the case, if you find something that works for you, I'm going to say it again. Beat it to death. Do it over and over and over again until you find consistency. It may take you a little while. It may take you 1,000 swings, 10,000 swings. Like, it may take you a while. That's just the kind of the nature of this game. It takes repetition in order to achieve great results in the game. Now, the next tip for the swing has to do with how far back you need to pull your club. So if you're playing on the straight up and down, which is Pro-Am or below, you actually don't have to pull the stick all the way back to the housing. And what I mean by the housing is where the stick sits inside of it. When you press it down and it stops, that's the housing. You actually don't have to pull it straight down to the housing. You can actually just barely bring the club back, and it starts your backswing. Now, if you're playing straight up and down, not on the diagonal, you can actually do that. You can pull it just straight back a little bit, and then swing it forward. And the way that it dictates where the swing path is wherever the stick is essentially pointing at the time of transition, at the point that you press up, is what your swing path will be. So if that works better for you, just pulling it back slightly, not fully back to the housing, if that works better for you, just slowly pulling it back and then swinging, then do that, if that works. The reason why I say when it's straight up and down, once you start getting to the Pro, Master, Legend difficulties, pulling it back on a diagonal, I have found at least in this year's game, is a little inconsistent. It works much better when you're playing Pro or higher to pull the stick all the way back to the housing so that you can get that pulling point on your controller. But if you're just doing straight up and down, yeah, you don't have to pull it all the way back with force. You can just slightly pull it back. You get that point, and then you swing. Just like that. You can absolutely do that. Now, the fun thing about that is you can actually use that, even playing at higher difficulties. And the big point that you can use it at is putting. So if I, again, pull it back slightly, my power starts to increase. And I can pull it straight back and push it forward to get my perfect shots. You don't have to go all the way back to the housing for your putting. You don't have to go all the way back to the housing for your chipping. All of those things you can actually do as long as it's straight up and down. It actually is quite accurate for putts, chips, anything that's straight up and down. Even at higher settings. You can get those perfects a lot easier just by slightly pulling it back. The other thing that's good with the putting is, like, when you do this, it's pretty fast, a little bit jerky. When you do it slow, the putter comes back really slow, and you can kind of judge your speed, actually, a lot better. But all right, you have found something that works for you on the controller. You've come in here, you've practiced it, you've gotten the practice swing out, you've taken some practice swings, you're getting your swing path, your transition, your rhythm, your power down. It's getting better and better the more you play the game. So now you're like, all right, it's time. It's time to move to pro difficulty. Now on pro difficulty, as you can see, it's now slightly off center. So if I try to pull it straight back and straight forward, I pull it and closed because the club is now off centered. So, what you can do, what helps, is you can just slightly turn your controller and then just do the same motion that you've always done for all of those swings. Find what works. Work on that. I'm a little off, but that's going to happen. I'm not going to be perfect every time. There we go. And that's just turning the controller ever so slightly in my hand. Now, again, if we do like a lot of draw, you can do where you turn the controller even more. That was too much. Turn it a little bit more. Much better. And you can just go and find all of the different ways that you can turn the controller in your hand and then just do the same exact straight shot that you've always done, that you've been practicing, that you've been doing over and over and over again, just doing it at a little bit of a different angle. What I've done is I've just completely thrown all that out the window and I've just practiced pulling the club back at a little bit of a corner and then swinging forward. You can also do that. It's all repetition. A bonus tip for once you get into pro and master and legend difficulties is to find a bias that also works for you. And what I mean by that is for a draw bias, what you're seeing here, you can see that it is a little left to right for my swing. That is a draw bias. There's also a fade bias. So if you choose fade bias as what you choose in your player info when you create your character, you're going to have a swing plane like this, which is a little bit right to a little bit left. And what the fade bias does is, as you can see, it goes left to right. So wherever you're dressing the ball, like I'm addressing the ball here, I have a slight draw. That is because I chose the draw bias, because it works better for me. But you can also choose a fade bias for when you address the ball, and that might work better for you. And I've seen some people that say that they like using, some risers. It helps kind of with their thumb placement in there. You can also do this too. I don't exactly like it. I don't like these playing PGA. I like them in Trackmania, but if they work for you, then definitely try them. They're like $10 on Amazon, and you can test them out if you'd like. But as far as the tips and tricks go, that's it. That is the tips and tricks for the Evo Swing. So I gave you understanding the Evo Swing, gave you finding something that works for you, practice the straight up and down, either through perfect swing or amateur or pro-am. Work on the grip, work on whatever is comfortable. Practice that over and over again. Come in here, go to practice swing, take a bunch of shots over and over and over again. And then when you start to move to pro, master, legend difficulty, if you get there, test out whether draw or fade bias works best for you. Test out turning the controller in your hand. Test out swinging it diagonally. Because once you get this down, this motion, up and down, up and down, up and down, going a little bit off center isn't exactly as hard as you might think it will be. And once you start taking these little diagonal swings, it's again, working on it, testing things. Repetition, 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 once you find something that works for the new swing that you are doing. And with these tips, with you now coming into PGA Tour 2K25, hopefully all of these things that I gave you will help you to grow as a golfer virtually. But with all of that, if you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment down in the comment section below with any questions you have. I will try to answer them. You can also join the Discord. I will put a link down in the description to the Discord if you want to join and ask questions there. I'm also live. I'm going to be live almost every day for the launch. So if you have any questions, you can always pop into the live stream and ask me there. With that, though, I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you on the next one.